So I am delighted today to be joined by Mike Adams in a brief conversation to hear a bit about Mike's 41 years, Mike, in NHS Grampian. Now, for those of you that don't know Mike, you could be mistaken to think that I am about to do an interview with some DJ on an Ibiza beach at the moment, going by the background and the headphones. I'm sure you could turn your hand to that, Mike, if you were asked. But delighted that you've taken the time to join us on a really important day, actually a really busy day, because this is your last week working with us. And I believe you have, quite fittingly, a series of teas and events that you have to attend, one of which will be this afternoon.
Yes, I do. I've had more lined up over the last little while than Frank Sinatra, so I've seen my cue for him.
Quite right, quite fitting. So I'm sure folks are really keen to hear, Mike, a bit about you, a bit about what it feels like just now for you, and probably really interestingly is just some of the stuff that you've observed. So, well, we start off with 41 years in NHS Grampian. Tell us a bit, for those that don't know you, what's your kind of canter through your career history, and I suppose interestingly for me is 41 years ago, what was your inspiration to join NHS Grampian?
Well, 41 years ago, I was working in the building industry to trade. I'm a painter and decorator. The building industry had a slump. Quite a few of my family work in the NHS, even more then. And my father worked and was really quite well known within the NHS. And I was my wife was due. We are our first, so it was basically I'm going to join this for security for a little while until the building industry picks up again. 41 years later, I find I'm still here. So yeah, I started off as a painter and decorator at Cornhill Hospital. Um, Part of the way through that, I became a shop steward, which is for this bits came for. I then moved for the Cornhill Hospital to the community and worked there for a few years, working for TSS, Technical Support Services, and then moved into ARI. By the time we did that, I was involved with unions and staff things quite a lot. And the chief exec at the time came up with posts for full-time reps. There were a few of us doing, probably 4 days a week. That we a horrible thing that we all went through. God saw the Safe Affordable Workforce,
Oh yeah.
and that was so. It was a little bit of a step up. I went for the seat that was reserved for facilities and got elected to that seat, and I've held it ever since. And yeah, I finish on Wednesday evening on the anniversary of me starting the NHS. So the partnership bit is probably what I'm better known for. But
So how long have you been in the partnership role, Mike?
since it was created, Caroline, so I've been doing the partnership bit now must be, it's well over 10 years that we've been doing this. And I've been doing the steward stuff for about 21 years, I think, something like that. And
Okay.
yeah, just got involved with that because I have an opinion about everything.
You don't say.
I have I do seem to hear 40 for just yapping, and I'm incredibly nosy, so I want to ken what's going on. I'm really so I think that was the drivers. That was the drivers. It's as simple as that. And the security helps. I have never made a
Yeah.
fortune, but I have never been unemployed, and it's certainly been interesting.
And I really that actually this conversation came about because of our relationship, which relates to you in your partnership role and just your interest and support of key things I think that are really important to me and to NHS Grampian around how we put our colleagues at the front and centre of everything that we do, and especially having been through the pandemic, which none of us had been before, the importance of that. But just, Mike, just before you go on to speak maybe a little bit about what are the kind of key things you've seen change over those 41 years? You mentioned that your dad had worked in NHS Grampian before you. What did your dad do?
He was an assistant stores controller. That's how we ended up. He started off as a porter. He was on the commissioning team for phase 2. Yeah, so he was the claim before he passed away. His claim to fame was that the first time I met Paul Allen, Paul said to me, "How's your dad?" And I said, "Yeah, he was okay at that time. How did you know?" And he says, "Because he started me in the NHS and encouraged him to go from working in the stores to go into the IT bit." So my dad then claimed total credit for Paul's career. So so that bit was really good.
Well, I'm sure Paul will watch this.
Well, Paul killed him a long time ago, and the rest, as I say, younger brother works in the fracture clinic at A&E. My sister's a domestic. My niece is a healthcare support worker. My older brother was a nursing lecturer at RGU, and yeah, various others. So yeah, it's always been a family concern.
Yeah, and I think you quite often find that, don't you? That families do follow in each other's footsteps, and so I suppose in that you will have an individual interest in how things have been and how your experience has been. Clearly, the type of person you are, although you've made light of it around being nosy and you've got something to say about everything. My observation of you, Mike, is that is because you genuinely want to get it right and you want everyone to have a fair crack at the whip. You want opportunities to be realised, and actually you want people to have fairness, I think, is one of the things that I hear most, not explicitly from you, but when we're talking, that's the stuff that comes through.
I think the majority, hopefully the majority of reps, it comes from a sense of right and wrong. And for me, it goes that you might not get it right, and you might not be right. I hate to admit that, but I might not be right by something. But I will always try to do the right thing, and that way I think you can go far wrong, even if you are wrong, if that makes sense. So I think that's for that bit what comes, and it's about we have this bit now on further as a big it's very central now is the well-being and the culture. So the well-being of staff and the culture is now a big thing. Wasn't always that way. And it's one of those things that I think the biggest message is, yeah, we know we're not getting it right yet, but we are trying it and we're doing it for the right reason, which is try to do the right thing. It needs everybody to come together because we need the information for staff about what would help them, and then we need to translate that into what is doable, and if it's not, then we need to explain why it's not. So there is a big bit within that, and that's one of the big changes there has been. And I think for me, and I have said this to you before, that the biggest change that I have seen in the time is we took it as a big step from we started to get told stuff before the newspapers. That was like chalk and cheese. It was unbelievable that we just were used to reading it. Closures, changes. They were in the Evening Express before we heard about them. Now we're involved with them. Now we know if it's happening. We maybe don't I agree, but we will understand why, and we will be putting a crossover part to it. And that is how it is evolved, but it is taken a lot of years and a lot of work, and it takes constant work and constant maintenance and constant networking, building working relationships, because they always are clashing heads, and it's been proved that doesn't work. So the partnership model of working that Grampian has adopted, with these full-time roles, etc., and the release time that they give to organisations, I think has shown that that is the way for the future. That is the way that we need to change. And the challenges we face at this moment in time is trying to get our partner organisations, because we have many partners within the health and social care. It's trying to get them on board, because they are actually decades behind or forward thinking. So we need to get them. We need to get them on board, and the best way of doing that is by examples. So, and once again, one of our biggest assets is the fact of being able to say, we got that wrong, and admitting we got it wrong, and then going and sorting it. That's a big. If it's when you want to admit you're wrong, the no blame bit is. But we need to take responsibility for stuff we do. So that bits are encouraging, but they're a long way from finished, and it's it's going to be a challenge going forward because of the extra difficulties. The pandemic, you were right, nobody expected that. Nobody's been through that before. I think that proved a lot of stuff. It proved a lot of things that worked, and that the unions and staff weren't there just to cause problems. They were there to they were there to let our muck in. And we need to foster that while still making sure that we look after people as we go along. I think if we do that, then you get that bit right. The rest of it, like the money in that, is Alex's problem. So
I don't think Alex would agree with you. Alex, for folks that aren't sure, that's the Director of Finance. So, Mike, I think some genuinely wise words around what our focus needs to be. And you're right, the problems at the moment for public sector, I think, can feel overwhelming. Not just health, to be honest. If you look at any part of public sector, it in any country at the moment, it is challenged. And therefore, if we focus on making sure coming to work is as good as it can be, and the best experience we can make it for people, and the best working environment. And again, as you say, we won't get that right all the time. Then one of the biggest challenges we have is workforce, not just new attraction of workforce, but retention of workforce. So you've mentioned some of your family members, and obviously you've been involved in lots of the negotiations for Agenda for Change, and we've had conversations about specifically colleagues in facilities and estates, and we've currently got the junior doctors. So there's lots of discontent. And one of the things that I hear most consistently is, yeah, money is really important, really, really important. But what it feels like and how valued you feel when you come to work is equally as valid. So continuing to focus on culture and staff wellbeing absolutely needs to remain top priority, and how we do that in partnership. And from a retention perspective, and the focus on that, is there anything else that you would want to encourage us to keep doing?
Well, I mean, there are several places that have looked and around things like the recruitment and retention premium, and it's probably something we are getting to look at in specific places, because we have trying to, as you say, attract people to this area, because this is an expensive area to live. Is difficult. There are changes coming to access to pension, which is national stuff that is being done, which might actually let people access a pension while still working, and things like that. That you can't afford to lose the organisational memory that there is, because then what you start to do is if everybody can only remember the hard times that we have had recently, and you're actually trying to build on much more than that. But we have got certain professions, certainly, especially amongst, say, the AHPs and that, they do get the same publicity probably as nursing, etc. But actually we are running really short of these people. We actually need them for our strategy. Our strategy is built around keeping people out of hospital and healthier. So we need to access them early so that they don't go to hospital. We haven't got enough to do that just now. And the difficulty is trying to get, as I say, somebody to move, say, for the central belt up to here. So that bit might be a bit that helps. In the meantime, what we need to do is hang on to the people we have got, no matter what. So the initiatives to make it a better place to work, and I'll be honest with you, it needs to be a good place to work as our workforce gets older and are expected to work longer. Because the youngsters are going to be working an incredibly long time. So we need to try and see, okay, how can we make it for they feel they can continue to work? How can we replace all the IT that we rely on now? Because it has been a boost, massive boost, has saved our lives, no doubt about it. It's a great asset, although we need to get back to more face-to-face, but it is a great asset. But we will keep replacing that because we need the best of kit, etc.
To keep updating it, you mean?
Yes, because they can, as I say, one of the only positives that came out of COVID, apart from staff rallying together, was the fact that technology was available that we could never have afforded, because the government was wanting us to use that. That's proved useful. We've proved how we can work it. This wouldn't be taking place without it. But it's gonna need constant maintenance. We're going to need to replace it. So that is going to be a challenge as well.
No, I agree. So, Mike, in the interests of getting you to your first Frank Sinatra style tea, you've spoken a lot, as always, about other people and the importance of that. A big change in your life, retiring, and there's lots of colleagues just now or recently I know who've taken that big step into a new chapter. So just before I kind of formally thank you for the time that we've spent together, which has been 8 years I've worked in Grampian. But obviously you've been here much longer. Tell us, give us a flavour of what's your plan to be well in retirement, and what are you going to do that you can share on this on this conversation?
I think it's became common knowledge that I'm going to do a specific 15 hours a week project for facilities to do with staff wellbeing and culture. So that is the small bit of it. The rest of it is very much weather dependent. Everybody knows that it will always include my motorcycle, and traveling, and some things like I am going to a bike show this year, nay by bike, it's in London, but I've been trying for 25 years to go to this and never made it. But
really?
this time it is all booked, and everything for London.
What is the bike show?
It's run by the National Chopper Club, and it's got Diamond Day. It's held at the Ace Cafe. And I remember when it got invented, if you want, and I always wanted to go. And then I realized this year was the 25th anniversary. So I booked straight off and said, no, I am going to that. And then I've got stuff on to do. I need to change lots of things on my bike. So I'm gonna be doing that. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you thoroughly enjoy bike shows and tinkering on your bike and doing things. And of course, delighted that you are leading by example and coming back to do something specific. And I think that is the thing that I see, people coming back because they want to, and it really allows you to hone in on stuff that really matters to you. So that project feels entirely fitting. But a huge thank you, Mike, for 41 years of service. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I know that you and your work have touched so many people in this organisation. I'm sure lots of people will be delighted to catch you before you go. And if they didn't know you were going, they will now when they've watched this, and they will be in touch. So enjoy retirement, Mike. Well deserved. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And then, yeah, you haven't done too bad so far. So yeah, just keep that up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.